Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's so great to see you guys back again. Make sure you subscribe, you like, you comment, all that good stuff. Did you know that 80% of people that watch my channel are not subscribed? It's crazy. All you gotta do is click that little button, get yourself notified, so when I put up new videos, you get to see them first. So anyway, let's get into today's topic is, I went randomly through the vinyl collection and grabbed 10 albums that fans of the band and critics at the time hated these albums by these artists. And probably still a lot of people don't like them to this day. But I own these albums, and I actually like a lot of the stuff that is on these albums. And I'll go through them with you. I got 10 here, and you guys let me know in the comments. Do you hate these albums? Do you like these albums? Do you want to rank them? Do you want to do a 1 through 10? 1 being the worst, 10 being that you like the album? Get with me in the comments. Let's roll. Let's start with the first one here. 1986. Rolling Stones, Dirty Work. Very tumultuous time for the Rolling Stones. Mick and Keith basically not speaking to each other at this point during this album, and actually would record at separate hours of the day so that they would not even be in the recording studio together at all during the making of this album. But having said that, I mean, there are some really good songs on it. I mean, I think that Dirty Work is better than the predecessor, Undercover. Although I love the song Undercover of the Night, I just as much like the song One Hit to the Body that's on here. And I like the song Winning Ugly, I think is really good. Harlem Shuffle is okay. That was the single, one of the singles off the album. That's okay. Back to Zero, Had It With You, Fight. You can kind of see the theme going here of that the guys aren't really getting along with each other. And also this being the first Rolling Stone album to come out after Mick Jagger's first solo album, She's the Boss. And I think that kind of fed into Keith's anger towards Mick and the fact that he didn't believe in the band doing solo albums and solo projects. But Keith's songs on here, Too Rude and Sleep Tonight, I think really got him in the mood to say, hey, I think I can do my own solo album. And a couple of years later after this release, he came out with Talk Is Cheap, which I think is just unbelievable album. It's one of the just front to back great albums to listen to of all time. The whole thing is fantastic. But yeah, Dirty Work gets a bad rap, but I like it. I think it's a good album. Next one, same year. Same year came out, kind of the same kind of artist. Eric Clapton, August. Big hit on this record. That came from the motion picture Color of Money. The song is It's in the Way That You Use It in the Tom Cruise movie. So that kind of already ushered in that this album was going to be well bought. And it was. I mean, I'm sure it sold a lot. I haven't looked up how many exactly, but very popular album. Now, the downside of that, what you realize is that like an album with Rolling Stones, Dirty Work, Eric Clapton, August, yes, they did sell well, but one thing you'll notice, you see a lot of them in the used bins, whether it be vinyl, CD, cassette. You'll always find a copy of this, and you'll always find a copy of Dirty Work in the used record bins of your record store. So take that for what you may. But I really love this album. This is sort of, for me, my favorite chapter of Clapton's career, just in the fact of, at this point, he's becoming the elder statesman. He's becoming, the Eric Clapton that I knew growing up, and it was the only Eric Clapton I have ever known because of my age. But I just love, there's so many songs on here, and some of the songs produced by Phil Collins, drums, some of the songs played by Phil Collins. But really, I love this album because it has the great rhythm section that I love. It's got Nathan East on bass. It's got Greg Gaines on keyboards and writing some stuff with Eric Clapton on here. The song Behind the Mask, if you haven't heard that, check it out. Michael Jackson actually has a co-writing credit on that song Behind the Mask. It's a long story. You can read that for yourself. But I love the songs. Take a Chance is a great song. Hold On is a great song. Run is a great song. Tearing Us Apart has Tina Turner on it with Eric Clapton. So I say get it. If you find a copy cheap enough, just give it a shot. You know what I mean? I think this is an album that some people just, because they don't recognize the material on it, there was no really huge big hits other than the movie soundtrack song. But check that one out. This one came out the year I was born, 1980, and that's what made me check it out in the first place. I didn't know much about this album. This is Yes, the band Yes, and the album is called Drama. And the reason I got into this is because sometimes I seek out these weird albums where, in this case, what makes this interesting or strange is that it's the first Yes album that doesn't feature John Anderson on vocals, and also Rick Wakeman left the group too. So quite a hole was left in the making of this album. So the rest of the band, Yes, brought in Trevor Horn and Jeff Downs, two members of the band The Buggles, who you might know from the song Video Killed the Radio Star. And they joined Yes, and they made this album Drama, which is like a total departure, kind of a departure from what they were usually, doing. I think the album before this was called Going for the One, and they're a little bit different. This being, to me, a little more on the progressive level. And I don't see the songs aren't on the back of this, but there's one. The opening song is it Machine Messiah? Do I have that name right? But unbelievable, like a very heavy song. Could be on like a Black Sabbath album around this time. But I like this album. I really like the lineup change, and just a weird combination of guys. And check this one out if you get a chance. I really like it. Another one where there's a lineup change and just people aren't used to this lineup, so maybe they get a little skittish, they get a little scared. Uh, Deep Purple's 1975 release "Come Taste the Band," which features David Coverdale from Whitesnake on vocals, uh, John Lord, a longtime member of the band, Ian Pace on drums, but the additions on here that aren't the regular ones, Roger Glover not on bass, but Glenn Hughes on bass and vocals. A lot of unbelievable vocals from him on this album. And this being the first album and only studio album to feature Tommy Bolin on lead guitar, replacing Ritchie Blackmore. Now, what's interesting about this is that Tommy Bolin is an American guitar player. Ritchie Blackmore is from England. So it really flips the whole script upside down and just makes for a really, it's sort of a funkier sound. It's really more of an American rock and roll sort of sounding album. And that's great. I think that's why I love this album. It rocks so hard. And Tommy Bolin's guitar playing is ridiculous. The vocals of David Coverdale and Glenn Hughes together are just, heaven sent. They're crazy. But great songs on here, man. Getting Tighter. This time around, You Keep on Moving. Love Child. Just one of these, for me, is a front to back great album. Just doesn't get the notoriety of like a Machine Head from Deep Purple or Fireball or something like that. But definitely check this one out if you get a chance. Come Taste the Band. Here's one I pulled out of the collection. Every time I read about this album, it just kind of gets crapped on, for better word. But it's Frehley's Comet, which is Ace Frehley from Kiss's solo band in the 1980s. This album is called Second Sighting because it was their second release in 1988. And you see here, it contains the hit singles Insane and It's Over Now. But why a lot of people do not like this album, the first thing that they'll cite on this album is that Ace Frehley isn't heard on it very much. The band is named after him. He's the leader of the band. He's the lead guitar player, but he's kind of absent in more than half the songs, I believe. A big portion of the songs here written, performed, and sung by Todd Howarth here, who is a very, very multi-talented guy. Keyboards, very great guitar player, unbelievable singer, and really doesn't get the credit that he deserves on this. Yes, it is an Ace Frehley album, and people get upset because they bought an Ace Frehley album and they're getting these songs that aren't recognizable and a singer that's not recognizable to them. But I'm able to take that out of the mix and just listen for this album for what it is, and the songs on it are really great, very catchy, very hooky, arena rock, hair metal of the day. I really like it a lot, and definitely, yeah, definitely check this one out if you know ever get a chance to see it or pick it up somewhere. It's worth it. I mean, this the song's "Time Ain't Running Out." It's over now. It's like it's just such an awesome ballad. You know, if you like Dokken, you like Whitesnake, you're most likely gonna like this album. So check it out. Staying on the Kiss angle, again released just a few days after I was born in May of 1980, is Kiss Unmasked. And I just have a soft spot for this album because it was came out when I was born, and I always remember it being in the house. And remember what I talked about albums that are always in the used or bargain bins. When I was a kid, this was always available at Kmart or Harmony House, whatever the case may be, in the bargain cassette bin. You could always find a cheap cassette version of Kiss on Mass, and I still have one behind me there. Um, I guess because of the fact that it just wasn't a popular album. The band had really gone from being, these party animal rock band to garnering more of a very slick, poppy, new wavy kind of sound on this album that was very appealing to a very young audience, not just like high school kids, but like, you know, very, very small, kids, like kids in middle school and elementary school, because they were selling so many products. They had toys, they had games, they had any product you could imagine kids were buying. And at this point, lots of smaller kids were coming to the concerts. And hence, I think why the album cover here to appeal to a younger crowd as well. It has the comic book strip here, which I do love. I mean, the colors alone, it's just iconic cover to me. I love it. Um, but yeah, I think they were just trying to appeal to the masses, I guess, and we're trying to you know get a hit, I guess. And but so many great songs on here. Naked City is my favorite. Um, Talk to Me, Tomorrow, What Makes the World Go Round, Easy as It Seems. Not what you would normally think of Kiss. If I played this for someone that wasn't a fan of Kiss, they would say, "Oh, what band is that?" Or "I think I know what that is." "Oh, that's pretty good." You're not going to know that it's Kiss because it sounds really different than a normal Kiss album. So pick this one up if you get a chance. Kiss Unmasked. Very cool album. I really dig it. Always have. 1978. Uh, Black Sabbath, Never Say Die. Now, anything with Black Sabbath, well, especially the Ozzy era of Black Sabbath, ever since the late 90s, it's kind of gotten a cult status where now the albums are like a cult favorite. People love them now, and no one ever remembers talking bad about them or saying that it was a bad album. But during when it was released and for years and years and years after, even Ozzy Osbourne himself, the band Black Sabbath, would say that this was the worst thing they'd ever done. They said it was just a mess of an album. They wish they'd never made it. But I love it. Okay? I love this album, Never Say Die. And I don't know, that's just one thing. I get attracted to these albums that people say, no, 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 stay away from that. That's the devil. You know what I mean? Stay away from any album like that because you're not going to like it. You're going to want to take it back. And you're never going to listen again. It's a big waste of money. Not for me. I've always loved these songs on here since I was a kid. The title track, Never Say Die. I've always liked Johnny Blade, Junior's Eyes, Shockwave, Air Dance, Over to You, Swinging the Chain. I mean, I just love this. It's the last album, studio album that Ozzy did with the band before Ronnie James Dio came in to replace him in 1980. But again, drugs and alcohol and a lot of things in here to muddle up the workings of such a great band. But they they somehow pulled it off and managed to release an album, which was enough for them, I think. So, but I love this album. Never say die. Next one, another one of these that sold a lot of records. 1989 or 1990, Whitesnake, Slip of the Tongue. This is the follow up to the huge 1987 album that we all know, which features Here I Go Again, Still of the Night, so on and so forth. Uh, Took maybe 3 or 4 years for the follow up to come out, and the follow up features Steve Vai on guitar, which was a little to the left of what was being done on the '87 album, so that makes it a little bit more different. but the team is back here. I mean, you got David Coverdale's vocals and songwriting is awesome on here, and you got production from Mike Klink, who was hot off Appetite for Destruction at that point. Keith Olsen is on here. It was a big part of the 1987 album, and great songs on here. The title track, "Slip of the Tongue," "Fool for Your Loving," "Now You're Gone," "Deeper the Love," "Wings of the Storm." It's just such a great, great hard rock hair metal album that just sometimes just gets dismissed by people because the weird thing is that imagine if you were the guy that had to follow up the 1987 Whitesnake album that sold 10 million copies. Okay, 10 million copies. Now you got to somehow follow that up. Well, I think David Coverdale and Whitesnake did a great job following it up with this album, but no matter what they did, wasn't going to be as critically as big. You can't do a 10 million release 2 times in a row. It just doesn't. You're not that. No one's that lucky. So the fact that this probably sold 2, 3, 4 million copies was seen as a failure, in the eyes of probably their record company and MTV and all these, avenues. But it's a great, great album that people sleep on. But another one you can find in the used bin all the time. Grab that one for sure. This one I grabbed. This is a controversial one because Rush fans are so, passionate about all the albums that Rush has ever done. This one's called "Hold Your Fire." Now, although there's a lot of fans of this album, I'm a huge fan of this album from 1987. But even Rush themselves have claimed that with this album, they'd gone way, way left field in terms of like not so many guitars on the album and tons of synthesizers and keyboards and a lot more pop writing instead of hard rock songwriting. And then they got back on that rock track with the next album, Presto, in 1989 or 1990. But this just is a peak for me of that slick production, great written songs. The playing on this album is just, pristine. Everything, when I think of this album, it's just pristine is what I think. And produced by Peter Collins, who is such a magnificent, we just lost him recently, but a magnificent record producer. And he holds a lot of places in my record collection there on different artists' albums. But this is another one where when I was a kid, it was always, no, forget that. That's not really Rush. 2112 is Rush. Even this was left even for Moving Pictures. It's just a different sounding album than they've ever done before. They've never done one like this since. So that's why I like this, because it is a departure record, and I like departure records. Who wants to listen to the band you love put out the same record over and over and over again? Some bands can. Motorhead could do that. AC/DC could do that. They could put out the same stuff all the time. Not saying that it's bad, but I love the bands that were willing to take a chance. And whether that nowadays be Metallica or Foo Fighters, those bands, a lot of they take a chance and they try to put some different stuff out there, which I think is cool. Last one I have here, another Black Sabbath one I want to throw into the mix. This is an album called Seven Star. It says Black Sabbath featuring Tony Iommi. This came out in 1986 and was supposed to be a Tony Iommi solo album, but the record company forced him to put the Black Sabbath name on it because they wanted it to sell, and that name sells. Not so much in this case, though, because the sound on this is very, very different. If you like Whitesnake, like I said, you like Dokken, you like that kind of hair metal stuff, this is what Gary Moore, this is kind of that avenue of stuff, not the doomy, real heavy drop tuning Black Sabbath that everyone loves and is known, loves. This is very different. Not saying that it's bad. Different is not bad. Different is sometimes fantastic. And to me, this is a fantastic album. Features Glenn Hughes on vocals. Fantastic voice. Perfect for the music on here. Eric Singer from Kiss is on drums on here. I think Bob Daisley on bass on here. This is just a great lineup. And they made a great album. One only. This is the only one they did. And if you can find it, pick it up. It's just an interesting listen, if anything. And you might become a fan of it. Who knows? So there you go. 10 albums there that fans and critics loathe, but I love them. I own them. I listen to them all the time. And I'm sure there's probably more. I know I have more in CDs and cassettes of more of that. I just wanted to do 10 today, get the ball rolling. This will probably be a series where I'll pull some more and do some more of that stuff. But thank you guys for joining so much. I so appreciate the likes, the subscribes, the messages on social media. Make sure you check me out on X and Instagram and all those avenues. And make sure you check back here all the time. And I'll see you on the next video. See you later.